Hello, I'm Himadri Kaushik, and I was fortunate enough to get 97th rank this year in the civil services examination. So I would want to address how to read the economic survey and how to prepare the budget for the exam, and what are other things you need to go through for economics. At the onset, I want to give a disclaimer that I have economics as my optional. So maybe the depth to which I study the survey or the budget is a little more because it helps with my optional paper. But I think I'll try to address it from a GS perspective. For prelims, you need to read the survey in a different manner. The first volume mostly. Sometimes they just pick up snippets of information and which are not even related to economics. For instance, there was a question on neem coated urea once, and of course it was mentioned in other things, but the survey had it too. Like I remember doing that question in prelims from the economic survey. A lot of other things that you would just look at, and if you get a little inquisitive, for instance, lending rate, so you go into MCLR and base rate, things like that, you come across it in survey, and if you look it up, it helps in the prelims preparation. Or of course, certain times a question can directly be picked from the economic survey. Like, I mean, just think about it. If you were to set a paper in which there were questions from economics related to the news, I'm sure survey would be one of the things that would be referred to first. Second, I'll go into like how to prepare the survey, for which it is more important. Now, every chapter in survey lately has been not just economic but also social. For instance, there was a chapter called Mother and Child in like survey 2 years back. Last year there was a chapter on local bodies and their financing and direct taxes. How do people raise direct taxes? There have been chapters on the environment, climate change funds. So basically what I'm saying is that economic survey is not just about economics. It can be fodder material for rest answer writing in any of the otother papers. GS2, GS3, maybe even GS4, like certain quotes or certain ideas or examples from places. For instance, like Prevention of Corruption Act. So last year it was amended, but even before that, the survey had recommended that section 13D3 should be amended. So you can, even in your ethics answer, you can say that the economic survey also recommended that the PCA should be changed, and in accountability you can write that. In GS2 you can write that. This year again there was a question on local bodies in GS2, so you can use a survey to validate your point. Writing that economic survey 2017-18 has suggested this, or economic survey 2018 has recommended this. It's a very good part of your answer. It shows that you're abreast with the news, and also it shows that you're not just saying things in air, because a lot of people will just write general things. General studies is not very general in that sense. It's very specific. More specific you are, the better it is. So economic survey, I would like to read it from the survey book itself and make notes from that. It's the headache of one time, you have to read it one time from the original survey book, and then you can make one A4 sheet notes for that, like what you think would be useful. And apart from that, for prelims, a lot of people read the economic survey summary that's given by various classes, like Vision comes up with their own summary, and I think I saw IS Baba summary also last time around. So you can read those summaries if you find it very difficult to understand the survey. But I don't think it's like a lot of things can just be bypassed. You know that's very technical. It's not going to be of use in GS. So you can just skip that. Just make that point-wise notes of what you think would be useful. Now coming to the budget. Now the budget, I feel like I enjoy listening to the budget speech because of maybe some economics interest. But like if you do not want to listen to the speech and you just want to prepare the budget and write it down, what can be done is look at the PIB budget summary sheet and note down the recommendation, or not the recommendation, but what amount has been sanctioned to particular schemes, if there's any scheme that has been stressed upon. For instance, this year if you have a question on agriculture, of course you should write the Kisan scheme. However, like I think it should be written in the sense that budget 2019-20 has introduced this. And I remember last year there was a question on horticulture, and a lot had been mentioned for horticulture in the last year's budget. So it should be written like that. Budget 2018-19 has taken this scheme, allocated funds for this scheme. If you can't remember funds, that's all right too. Like infrastructure also would be there. So like in GS3 you have agriculture, then you have infrastructure. Within infrastructure there's roads, railways, airways. So you can look at the budget schemes related to these particular sectors separately and note them down, either in the area that you have those notes prepared or separately, because I think these can be excellent points to substantiate your answer with. Just put points about the budget in that answer itself, in your way out, perhaps in the concluding part. So the budget should be read like that. Of course, budget has so many schemes, any of them could be asked in prelims, so one would have to read that in detail as well. As far as understanding the budget goes, I think like almost everyone understands it. And like if you do not understand it, the week following the budget, the newspapers flooded with articles about the budget itself. So what you do is you save those articles. For instance, if there's something you were not able to understand then and there was an editorial on it, just like save it, go to it later. And I think that pretty much suffices for the economic survey as well as the budget.